Coordinated Management of Meaning Theory by Barnett Pierce and Vernon Cronin. Barnett Pierce got his MA and PhD from Ohio University. He began working with the theory in the mid-70s when social sciences in the United States were still struggling with the tensions between those who focused on observable behavior and those who believed that meaning must be a part of fundamental units of analysis. Before his death in 2010, he worked as a professor at Fielding Graduate University with students getting their PhD. Vernon Cronin is the co-author of the Coordinated Management of Meaning Theory. Cronin describes the theory as a practical one that can also be put to critical purposes. He is author and co-author of numerous articles and book chapters in communication, psychology, and consultation. There are 4 claims to this theory. The first states that our communication creates our social worlds. For CMM theorists, our social worlds are not something we find or discover. Instead, we create them. Barnett Pierce believed that persons in conversation co-construct their own social realities and are simultaneously shaped by the words they create. The way people communicate is often more important than the content of what they say. When we communicate, we are not just talking about the world, we are literally participating in the creation of social universes. These ideas identify CMM theorists and practitioners as social constructionists. Second claim, the stories we tell differ from the stories we live, refers to what we say when we talk with others about our social worlds, ourselves, others, relationships, or the larger community. Communication is a two-sided process of stories told and stories lived. Stories told are tales we tell to make sense of the world and tame our fears. Stories lived are the ongoing patterns of interaction we enact as we seek to mesh our lives with others around us. There is much more to stories told that could enrich or alter their meaning, since our social worlds are very complex. The more aware we are, the greater our capacity to deal with frustrating situations and treat people more compassionately. Stories we live can create tension because they intersect with the actions and reactions of others. The third claim, we get what we make, says that we create our social worlds through our patterns of communication. If your patterns of communication contain destructive accusations and reactive anger, you will most likely make a defensive relationship. But if your patterns contain genuine questions and curiosity, you will have a better chance of making a more open relationship. Pierce urged that we ask 3 questions when we reflect, are, or contemplate in a future interaction. How did that get made? What are we making? And what can we do to make better social worlds? It was Pierce's hope that communication students would become adept at spotting the point in a discussion where a conversation could go wrong and have the ability to come up with a response on the fly that can make better social worlds. The fourth claim, get the pattern right, create better outcomes, raises the question. What personal characteristics or abilities does it take for a person to create conversational patterns that will change the social world for the better? The answer is mindfulness, which is a presence or awareness in the midst of a difficult conversation. Mindful participants don't speak on mental automatic pilot. They are participant observers willing to take a step back and look for places where they can say or do something to make the situation better. A person in a point where the conversation is going bad can say, "Tell me more about that. What else was going on at the time? Why don't people understand?" Even a single word like yes can change the direction of the conversation pattern. The article Facilitating Conversations That Matter Using Coordinated Management of Meaning Theory by Randall A. Rose from 2006 strives to demonstrate that CMM is useful as a tool for inquiring into reflexive patterns within an organization and also to offer material to explore stories of the people in it. The article also wants to develop individual and group responsibility for organizational change. Serpentine model of a deteriorating conversation. The conversation between Wilson and Larry has only 6 turns and shows the deterioration of their stories lived. Turn 1 and 2 show a difference of opinion. On turn 3, Wilson shows enthusiasm, but also disdain to anyone who doesn't agree with him. Larry then goes on the attack, and the conversation now becomes a competition to see who can say the most hurtful things. The original topic of the conversation now has become irrelevant. An application of this theory could be a divorce. They can get messy and costly. But if the people involved can understand that it is better to be mindful of the other, the process can go a lot smoother. CMM tells us that we create our own social worlds. What we experience is not the same as somebody else. If we put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, we may be able to understand where they are coming from. One tool CMM uses is called coordination, which refers to the process by which persons collaborate to bring their vision of what is necessary, noble, and good, and they avoid the enactment of what they fear, hate, or despise. If people getting divorced used this theory, they could have an amicable divorce like Miranda and Blake.